Thank you. Please, at ease. First things first. Yes, I am taller than I sound on radio. Thank you to Jenny for making everything possible today. And thank you, Stand Up Katrina, you troublemaker, for making this. She's why I'm here, okay? So it was her idea to drag me away from DC and have me go back on the red eye tonight. Thank you very much. What would you like me to talk about tonight? Whatever? Okay. Yeah, everybody, wherever I go in the country, whoever the audience is, whatever the topic they give me is, sooner or later they say, well, what's he really like? Okay, we'll get to that. And I'll leave time for Q&A. How much time do you want to give me? As
much as you want.
No. I can do this for days, okay? I got to catch a plane at 9, so we'll be out of here by then. And I want to leave some time for Q&A. Okay, so it's always most interesting for me to hear what you want to know and to answer your questions. But first things first, what's the state of the nation? Let's begin with that. I was thinking, how do you summarize what's happening to America? And one of the great things about a radio show is you have the best callers. Where's Antoinette? There's another warrior princess. When we have people like Antoinette who stand up for the unborn, when we have Brent from LA, we have Don, we have Ray, you start to get a sense of what's happening in America. How people who aren't politicians, didn't work in the White House, just have a sense of clarity about what's going on. And this is what came to me. We live in the most perverse time in history for one very simple reason. And it isn't just an American thing. We can see this in other parts of the world, in the West. We are being led and run. Our nations are under the control of people who hate our countries. And this isn't hyperbole. This isn't some guy with a funny accent on a radio show making a point. We have the proof. Biden's old boss on the campaign trail said, my goal is to fundamentally change America. Let's be clear about that. He said that. If I told my wife, I love you, Katie, but I want to fundamentally change you, I may not make it to the couch, I may be in the doghouse, literally, okay? Which means what? They hate the thing they are in control of. It's very simple. If you look at the last 2.5 years, again, not a hyperbolic question, a very simple question. What would you do differently if you wanted to destroy America? Nothing. You'd open the border. You'd give Iran $6 billion. You'd cancel fracking. You'd kill the energy industry. What would you do differently? Nothing. This is the challenge we face. You've heard it 100 times. The next election is the most important in your life. Have you heard that? Well, guess what? This time, it's real. This time, it's true. Because why is the border open? Really, why is the border open? Because they're so racist, they're so bigoted, they think, oh, brown people coming into America. Great. Let's have 20 million. Oh, forget about labor. It's not to do about labor. That's our side. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's the stinking rhinos. They want the illegal labor on our side. But the Democrats are letting in tens of millions of, oh my gosh, Agnesh. Wow. Angel Mum, stand up. Agnesh Giboni, another warrior. Her son was killed by an illegal immigrant. Why are they letting millions into this country? No, not to destroy the system. To maintain control forever because they're such racists. They think, let 30 million in, we'll amnesty them, and because they're brown, black, they're going to vote Democrat. I mean, this is how racist they are. Your skin color determines who you vote for if you're a Democrat. That's who. How racist are they? Look at the last 3 weeks. I just wrote a piece for Breitbart about the great Jew hatred switcheroo. It came out today, I think, or yesterday. What have we learned about the Democrats in 3 weeks? What have we learned? They hate Jews. They are on the side of people who massacred infants. It's like biblical times. Infants are massacred. 2 days ago, the Knesset, this is against Jewish tradition and against Jewish theology. But because of what the Democrats, the mainstream media, the left internationally did, do you know what the Knesset had to do two days ago? The Israeli parliament, behind closed doors, had to show the video that Hamas took of a baby being roasted alive in an oven. Grown men, combat veterans, came out of the Israeli parliament weeping. Weeping. You're not, I mean, Jewish law is very specific on the sanctity of dead bodies, right? They have to have special people, ambulance workers, who are religiously certified to deal with body parts when there's a suicide bomb. You're not supposed to show images of dead bodies. You're just not supposed to religiously. But they said, CNN doesn't believe us. CNN, Erin Burnett on CNN last week, you know what she did? I played it on my show like twice. The 85-year-old grandmother was released by Hamas. And Erin Burnett does a segment on, and if you don't believe anything I say today, that's fine. That's okay, it's just that crazy guy. Go check it. Erin Burnett did a segment where she said, you know how nice Hamas was? They didn't just give her medicine, they gave her shampoo in that underground hellhole. The CNN host said, they gave her shampoo. The fact that babies were being roasted, kind of irrelevant. The fact that they found Noah, the German-Israeli girl who was, do you remember the pretzel in the back of the truck? Her body was in a shape that humans can't do. They just found her head. Just her head. And the skull fragment was used to identify her through DNA. 23-year-old girl who was partying in the desert at that music festival. But they gave the grandmother shampoo. You know what they left out of the report? Nobody mentioned this. The 85-year-old grandmother who was released. They still have her husband in hostage, in captivity. Kind of, yeah. Maybe they're giving him shampoo. That's the left. That's the Democrat Party. Biden comes back from an utter failure of a Middle East trip where every Arab nation he's supposed to meet with says, screw you, we're not going to meet with you. And he lands in Ramstein, and in the back of Air Force One is where the journalists sit. And he walks through the Secret Service detail to the back of the plane. And this senile old bastard says, well, you know, Hamas, that hospital, I guess, you know, it might have been them, and they need to learn to shoot straight. You mean they need to learn to be able to kill more Jews instead of drop a bomb on their own people? The President of the United States says they need to learn how to kill more Jews. That's where we are today. And let me be clear to anybody out there, I'm sure this doesn't apply to you guys, because I've seen more Israeli flag pins tonight than I've seen in the last 3 weeks, and God bless every single one of you. We have people on our side, including Tucker, who say, it doesn't matter. Not our fight, not our war. As if people haven't listened to the jihadists. What do the jihadists say? The jihadists say, first we come for the Saturday people, the Shabbat people, we kill them, and then we come for the Sunday people, the Christians. So if you don't understand, 9/11 is October 7th. October 7th is 9/11. If you think Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Al-Qaeda, ISIS hasn't sent literally thousands of terrorists into America in the last 2.5 years, I got a bridge to sell you in Connecticut, right? I mean, you're smoking Hunter Biden's crack pipe if you don't think they're doing that. And think about it. We know 8 million came in. The gotaways are probably doubled, so that's 16 million, at least. 16 million in 2 years. 1%. If 1% are terrorists, that is divisional-sized assets. That's like the Wehrmacht in terms of raw human power. Hedia, my good friend from DC, that woman, if you want to know about the threat to America from jihadists, you talk to her afterwards. She's one of our premier experts in the country on the jihadi threat. So that's where we are. So you may have heard this, but Hungarians are really good at depressing you. Did you notice that? So what do we do about it? What do we do? First things first, it's one of my favorite cuts from my radio show. It's from the great Rush Limbaugh. He was very ill. It was shortly before he died. And he talked about an email he got. He said some woman wrote in and said, "Hey, Rush, is it time? Is this when we give up? Is this time where we say they've won?" What did Rush say? He's weeks away, days away from dying, and he says, "It is never time to give up. It is never time to despair, because it is un-American." I can't tell you. I mean, if you add it all up, it's like 4.3 million followers on social media, on Facebook, Twitter. And I can't tell you how many people told me after 2020, "That's it, I'm done. They stole it, and I'm never going to vote again. We're done." And I said, "Oh, really? Really?" Because that's exactly what our founding fathers thought, right? Right? I mean, just think for a second about 1776. The phrase, "the sun never set on the British Empire," isn't a catchy thing. Go back and look at a globe from the height of the British Empire. Everything that's controlled by the king is pink. And it's not a joke. The sun never set from Scotland to India, right? The sun never set. And some bunch of crazy dudes in the colonies said, "Yeah, we don't like you, King George." Do you remember, have you seen a lot of the guys who got prosecuted after January 6th? They're called the 3%ers. Have you heard this thing? There's these bumper stickers with the Roman numeral 3, because they say 3% of America fought the British. That's actually wrong. If you look at the latest historical data, it's closer to 2%. 2%? 2% of the people living here actually picked up guns to fight the British. And guess what happened? We won. We won. So don't moan to me about, "I'm not voting again, they stole it." They pledged not only their lives and their treasure, they pledged their sacred honor. So, really, if they can do that, if they can risk getting hanged for treason, what are we going to do about people who want to steal our country? Now, how did they steal it? We were talking about this earlier today. It's very important. We have to understand, how did they get to where they are today? How did the left do it? Because it's not Obama, it's not Biden, it's not Hillary. It's the last 90 years. You need to understand how they did it. It goes back to a crippled communist in an Italian prison cell called Antonio Gramsci, who had a brainwave. Mussolini locked him up. Yeah, it's always the Italians. It's always the Italians. And Antonio Gramsci is he's rotting in one of Mussolini's prisons. And he's a hardcore communist, but he's a brain. And he thinks, why is this communism thing not working except in one country, Russia, right? Why? Karl Marx is the genius, and we've got to have the workers' paradise and the revolt of the peasants. Why is it not working? And he realized, unless it's in a country that is feudal and has no middle class, like Russia in 1917 or China in 1948, communism never works. Why? Because you've got this whole Christian middle class that's happy, making money, having kids, and they go, excuse me, you want me to do what? Man the barricades? Are you nuts? I've got a very nice house, thank you, and I've got a very nice, Ford Model T outside. Go to hell, you loony, right? Only peasant nations that have nothing to lose and are collectivist and that can be led by the nose can have a communist revolution. So he says, so how do we win? How do we take over developed Western nations where there is a robust Judeo-Christian middle class? And he came up with something that would later be called by Rudi Deutschke the long march through the institutions. That was in the 1920s. Okay, it's like a century ago. And he said, instead of building barricades and killing the police and declaring war with the government, you take over the government. You take over society. You take over the teacher training colleges. You take over the newspapers. You take over the media. Bingo. Bingo, right? This becomes the Frankfurt School. This becomes Saul Alinsky. This becomes Howard Zinn. How is it the most popular history school book in America is Howard Zinn's A People's History of America, which paints America as a neo-colonialist power. That is the most popular textbook in high schools in America, written by a man who was an avowed communist who hated America. And we wake up one morning and AOC's a member of Congress. How did that happen? Well, because what were we doing? What were we doing? We were sleeping or living our lives. Living our lives. Making sure, our businesses are functioning. We're making the car payment at the end of the month. Timmy has a new pair of shoes for the next school year. Living our lives. And what are they doing? Taking everything over. Tip O'Neill said in the 1990s, if you can wind the clock back to the 1990s, Tip O'Neill's big catchy phrase was, politics is local, right? And we thought, that's catchy, kind of cute, who cares? Well, guess what? They lived it. They lived it. Don't get me wrong, it is really cool, especially as a legal immigrant to the United States, to work in the White House, to hang out in the Oval Office. It's really cool to be the president or a senator or a member of Congress. But really, it's irrelevant. Really, it's irrelevant. Why? Because America is where? America's here. America's in the county. America's at the school board. America's at the county commissioner level. That's America, right? And what did the left do with the likes of George Soros's money for the last 30 years? What did they do? They didn't give money to Biden. They didn't give money. No, they gave it to DAs in San Francisco. They gave it to Fannie Willis in Atlanta. Right? They gave it to school board knucklehead crazies. And we just kind of watched. And then we wake up one morning and they're teaching gay pedophilia textbooks in our schools. Like, sorry, what? What is this? Boys filleting grown men in books, and that's in the kids' school? And we're kind of shocked. We're kind of, what? So here's the answer. We have to do what they did. We have to take back America one school board seat at a time. One local county commissioner at a time. This is when you step up. When people, call up the show or email me or DM me on, social media and say, what are we going to do, Dr. G? I say, what do you mean, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's the question. I had Mark Levin on the show a couple of weeks ago because of his new book. And he explained it as only Mark can. He said, I asked him, are you an optimist or pessimist about America? Are you long or short on America? And he goes, what do you mean, Seb? I'm an optimist. Did they ask Patton whether he was an optimist about the Germans? No, he got off his ass and he fought. Right? The great one. And he's right. We have no option. We have no option but to fight. We don't talk about whether we're going to win or not. We have no choice but to save America. So what does that mean? It means the following. And if you take this personally, tough nuggets, all right? You're meant to. I don't pull any punches on the show, and I don't do it with rooms like this full of patriots. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how little money you have. I don't care what your educational level is. I don't care whether you were born here or an immigrant. If you're not running for local office or otherwise politically active and actually doing crap, you might as well be working for the Democrats. It's really that simple, right? It's really that simple. If you're not running for local school board once, twice, 3 times, I don't care how many times you lose, if you're not running, if you're not knocking on, my wife hates politics because she's sane, okay? She ran for local office, failed. What did she do? I thought, okay, fine, you had your fun, get back to work. No, she ran again, and this year she won. My wife is now responsible for 3,000 door-knocking addresses in our district. My wife is the chief election officer of our district. Not poll watcher, state-certified chief election officer. A woman who hates politics because she's sane. If my wife can do that, who hates politics, what's your excuse? I don't think we have one. So, as good Christians, I always like to give this piece of advice to patriots. When you wake up in the morning, what should you do? You should pray. I pray usually when I'm walking the dogs. And as a follower of Christ, you do what? You should, in the morning, after you've made your requests, asked for the grace of God, you should decide really, every day, what am I going to do today to glorify Him? Just one thing. Doesn't have to be big, right? Don't have to become a martyr, but what am I concretely going to do in the next 18 hours to serve Him? And then when you go to bed and you say your prayers, I'm a cradle Catholic. We Catholics do something called an examination of conscience, where you ask yourself, after the prayers, you pray for your loved ones, thankful for the day, you say, so did I do what I set out to do for God today? You examine your conscience. So I want to add to that. I want to make a little kind of addendum. In the morning, as you say your prayers, and you decide what I'm going to do for my Lord and Savior, you also ask yourself, what am I going to do to save America today? One thing. Don't get crazy. Don't say, I'm going to run for president. Just one thing, right? I'm going to knock on 5 doors today. I'm going to talk about the border at the water cooler. I'm going to reach out to my long-lost lefty nephew and just, send him an email. How you doing, buddy? Right? And then, at the end of the day, as you examine your conscience, did I serve God today? You say, did I do that one thing for America today? Because we are now 52 52 and a half weeks away from saving America or losing it forever. It's really that blunt. If they drop the voting age to 16, if they pack the court, if they naturalize 30 million people, it's over. It's koniec filmu, it's hasta la vista, it's done. Right? It's done. So, we never give up, we never give in, and I ask every single one of you, get politically active and tell every single person you know. And do it gently. I mean, my job is to be a bomb thrower. My dad says, Dad, can you just like tone it down a bit? I said, no. My job is to make sure these guys are fighting. That's my only job. Energize the patriots. You know, some other people can invite Democrats on their shows. I'm not doing that. But my advice to you, if you don't have a national radio show, is you can be a little bit less bombastic. You can be a little bit more gentle, okay? You don't have to bang people over the head with the Constitution every day, although that might do them some good, if it's a very heavy one. But just ask questions. Be Socratic. Lead them down the path. And if they're on our side, give them one simple message to start off with. Do you think we can fix America and save the nation we love by you voting every 2 years and sending somebody a check? Because if they believe that, you have to disabuse them of that illusion. The days of, making a donation and spending 30 minutes voting and thinking we'll fix it are gone. Gone. So that's for your friends who are in the camp already, but don't get the stakes. Then for the other side, the undecideds or people who are maybe, voted Democrat, but are kind of, well, why is gas at $6, right? You can try this. And I'll stop here and then I'll take questions. Why does President Trump connect? Why did Ronald Reagan connect? Let me tell you a story. We flew on Air Force One to Youngstown, Ohio. And Youngstown, Ohio is in, the Rust Belt, still central. We get off the plane at a military base. We get into the convoy. He gets in the Beast. We have about a 20-minute ride to the stadium. For 20 minutes, on the left-hand side, all we see are disused steel mill after, broken in glass, just disused steel mill after disused steel mill. On the right-hand side, for 20 minutes, little pods of American working-class families, very plainly dressed, modestly dressed, waving little stars and stripes. We get to the stadium. Boss is in the back with the bigwigs. And I decide to go into the pit. I've never been to Youngstown. I want to meet these people. We're doing selfies, and I'm talking to people and signing stuff. And I realize, everybody I talk to, they're like, everybody in this stadium is a Democrat. Their dads were Democrats. Their granddads worked in the mill. Every single one of them is a salt of the earth working former Democrat. Didn't matter. When the president came out, when the first lady and the president came out on stage, he couldn't give his speech for minutes because they spontaneously started chanting, USA, USA, drain the swamp. That's Youngstown. It's not Texas. It's Youngstown. Deep Democrat. What? This guy's a billionaire from Manhattan. What is going on here? Working class Democrats, steel mill workers are screaming USA drain the swamp for the billionaire with the reality TV show from New York. Well, let's unpack it. Let's unpack it. They connect because they trust him, because he's authentic. Because they believe in one thing and one thing alone. And it's the thing I realized within 60 seconds of meeting him. I was teaching for the Marine Corps in Quantico, summer of 2015. And I get a phone call in my office from some guy called Corey Lewandowski. No idea who this is. And he says, candidate Trump is preparing for the national security debate this fall for the GOP, and he needs somebody to get him up to speed on national security. Would you potentially be interested? And I thought, well, I'll meet him. So I got on the commuter jet, went to New York, went to Trump Tower, up to his office, never met the guy. I know about, TV, reality, golf courses. That's all I know. And I sit down with him. It's just me and him. I'm sitting on this side of his famous desk. He's on the back. Corey's in the corner. Just the three of us. Classic Trump discussion. 40 minutes of just blue sky national security. From the Civil War to ISIS to nuclear weapons, it was just, whoo, all right, this guy's interested. And then, this is so Trump, halfway through, he just stops the conversation dead, looks at Corey and says, I like this guy, let's hire him. And so, just like Stormy Daniels, I signed an NDA. This is true, me and Stormy, right? And I start working for him. And I start writing policy papers for the debates. Why? Why did a guy from the UK, little bit different style, okay, handmade suits, stiff upper lip, debate club, Latin class, and I'm sitting with this guy from Queens. Little different, little different. Why was it so easy for me to say yes? Because within 60 seconds of talking to him behind closed doors, I knew two things. Two things. He hates political correctness and he loves America. Done. And that's why Democrat steelworkers from Youngstown, Ohio, love him. Why? Because like the Gipper, he connects at an emotional level. And this is a long way to get back to the second piece of advice I want to give you for the people who are in the middle or your lefty friends. Why did Reagan have a blowout 49 state victory? Second time round. I mean, just basically took the country. Why did Democrats vote for him? Why did Democrats in Ohio scream, drain the swamp to my boss? Because of how they communicated. Conservatives live in the real world. We believe in truth. That's what separates us from everybody else. We believe in truth. And sadly, we think that's enough. Bear with me, okay? Bear with me. There's a little guy called Ben Shapiro who built his career on a catchy phrase. You may have heard it. Facts don't care about your feelings. Right? This is famous. Facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah, Ben, that's true. But it's utterly and completely irrelevant if you want to win in a political debate. Conservatives for far too long say, here's my PowerPoint slide on tax income differentials if you lower the tax rate and the Laffer curve. If you lower the tax rate, we get more income for the state. We have all the facts, right? Blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. And we think, well, we have the data, therefore you will vote for us, correct? No, no. Nobody gets votes because they have the facts. You have to have the facts as a conservative, but you have to connect with the heart. How do you, numbers don't touch your heart. Emotions. Feelings, Ben. Feelings touch your heart. The other side doesn't give a damn about truth. They'll lie to you about everything. Yeah, men can become women, and if you cut the breasts off a 14-year-old girl, she's a boy. Yeah, it's truth, right? Truth, truth. They have no truth. They do not believe in truth. Truth to them is oppressive. It's colonial, right? Math is racist. Your math is racist. Math is racist. 2 + 2 must equal banana, or you're a white supremacist, right? It's not a joke. This is real. So what is our challenge? Our challenge is to represent the truth, which we all believe in, but to communicate it on an emotional frequency. What does that mean? What's he talking about? It means the following. Here's one example, and it's the one that, after Israel, probably should be the biggest thing we talk about, the border. We have no border in the south. We are the only nation in the world that has no. Vanuatu has a border. The Maldives has a border. Papua New Guinea has a. We have no border. Right? Left-wing organizations like Human Rights Watch, like the United Nations Human Rights Commission. These are not big Trump organizations, okay? Left-wing organizations have stated up to 60% of every woman and girl trafficked across the border is raped or sexually assaulted, up to 60% of them. So when you're talking to a lip or somebody in the middle, you say, hey, did you hear what the UN said yesterday about sexual exploitation of minors and women? It's up to 60% of the people, coyotes, they're being raped. You don't like rape, do you? You don't think girls should be abused, do you? You don't? No, of course not. That's awful. Well, then we should build the wall. You see what I mean? You've got to walk them to the truth place, but do it in a way that touches their soul. Right? So, use your mind to talk on a frequency of emotion. And that's how we win. All right, guys, God bless you all. Thank you, everybody who made today possible. Thank you for the amazing dinner. And let's take some questions. Who's first? That was quick. Gentleman over here. Can I get a glass of water? Thank you. Nice and loud.
So a couple questions.
Yeah.
Recently, our governor went over to visit Israel and just happened to stop by China to go talk to
Yes.
Xi Jinping.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, is that something that a governor can do on their own, or is that something that has to be signed off by the White House first?
No, any governor can do that.
Can they?
Yeah.
All right. Who do you think his running mate's going to be when he runs for the White House?
I don't think it matters. Gruesome Newsom, he's got the hair and the teeth. Does it matter? Come on. He's got the key qualifications for a left-wing politician. He's got the hair and the teeth. So, I don't know. But, he's the guy. He went to the White House when Biden, thank you, was in Brussels for the NATO summit. Literally measuring the drapes. Right? We know who they want to replace him with. But no, he doesn't need. Private citizens, allegedly, according to the Logan Act, cannot involve themselves in the foreign policy of the United States. But a governor can represent his state in another country. But great questions. Sir?
Yes. Since in 2020, I've been waiting for Q and the White Hats to make a change. And nothing's happened. What's your?
I hope you're just saying that to provoke me. Q and QAnon is a load of bullshit.
It is. That's what I wanted to hear.
I'm sorry. I'm a former intelligence guy, right? That's what I did in the British Army. Q is probably a left-wing disinformation campaign designed to make conservatives look dumb. Yeah. Oh, did you know the president's still in charge? There are 5,000 sealed indictments about prosecuting the child traffickers. It's weird because we're like 3 years late and the president's still not the president. So I think it's bullshit. And you can quote me. Well, white hats. It's all crap. It's all crap. It's just garbage, right? Agnes, my dear.
My question is, there are so many victims of fentanyl that are dying because of open borders.
Yes.
Illegal aliens, criminals are crossing the border back and forth. That's why my son is 6 feet under. Is there a possibility of all these families suing the government for their negligence?
Yes.
Great question. So, sadly, in administrative law in America, government representatives in federal government have immunity, pretty much immune, all right? However, here's an interesting question. What's stopping a sheriff in Arizona or a sheriff in Texas from arresting Alejandro Mayorkas? Right? We don't have the DOJ, we don't have the executive office, we don't have the White House. But people are dying in not just border states, but across America. And I'm just waiting for one man with some balls to say, Alejandro Mayorkas is the biggest facilitator of human trafficking in the world. Forget Genghis Khan. Alejandro Mayorkas is a human trafficking accomplice. Why isn't he arrested? Right? I'm not a sheriff. I'm not a sheriff. But I'd like to see an attorney general, I'd like to see Ken Paxton or somebody say, that's wrong, and I don't care if you're Fed, I'm arresting you and I'm trying you in my state. Great question.
Sebastian, thank you for what you've done for the people, serving us, we the people, the American people. Deeply appreciated. I have two quick questions, one's simple and one's naive. Does President Trump know how much these citizens and patriots of Orange County love him?
Yes.
Does
Oh,
he
he
know
does.
that? We want our country back.
It's one of the things I get told the most. Somebody said it to me tonight, said, please tell the president we love him. And I say, he knows. Next question. He wouldn't be doing what he, look, let's be clear. One of the richest men in the world, who didn't do it for money or fame because his name was a brand before he became president. The only reason he's doing this is because he loves you and he loves America. It's the only reason. They destroyed him for 4 years, and he's deciding to do it again. He's doing that because we love him. Next question.
Second question is really a naive question about the Middle East. The expectations of liberals that they don't want Israel to use all their might, their military power, to fight back against scumball terrorists?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very simple. They're on the side of the bad guys.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very simple, right? Somebody made this point recently. I think it was Ben Shapiro in Oxford last week. This whole idea of proportionality. You know what? We killed a lot more Germans than they killed Americans.
Yeah.
It's not about proportionality. It's about winning. We killed a lot more. We bombed civilian cities. Dresden was firebombed to the ground. You can tell me that's a war crime, but guess what? It affected the length of the war. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the only reason we did that was because 600,000 Marines and others would be killed if we had to go island to take back Japan. So the bottom line, look, proudest moment for me in the White House, we had the whole cabinet in the Oval, and the president summons me and Bannon. And he calls us into the Oval. He called us his heavies. And he said, oi, guys, heavies, you tell them why we need to kill the Iran deal. And we told him. We told the whole cabinet, H.R. McMaster, National Security Advisor Rex Tillerson, it's bad for Israel, bad for the Middle East, it's giving them a nuclear weapon, it's bad for America. And he killed it. These guys are helping them. There's a former DC transport cop who was a radical. He thought he was giving ISIS $500. He wanted to support ISIS as a cop. He was actually giving it to an FBI CI, a covert informant, and he's arrested. He's now doing 20 to life in a Supermax for $500. Biden just released $6 billion to Iran. That crime he's in prison for is called material support to terrorism. 6 billion, a little bit more than 500. They're on their side. Madam.
As a national security expert, do you believe that the Israelis didn't know that Hamas was going to
Yes,
attack?
that's QAnon crap. Please, stop. Stop. You think a nation that lost 6 million of its people allowed babies to be put in ovens? I mean, just stop and have a sanity check. Stop. Do you think a nation that has suffered at the hands of its neighbors since 1948 and for thousands of years before then wanted 23-year-olds to be slaughtered, beautiful women pulled out of the back of pickup trucks with their nether regions covered in blood because they'd been raped repeatedly? You think the Israelis did that to themselves, madam? No, I don't. Good, thank you. Thank you. Now, why did they miss it? That's another discussion. But if you know Israeli politics for the last 9 months, it's been a disaster. The Supreme Court was given powers it never should have had. The Supreme Court in Israel can stop any government policy or fire any government official. It was out of control. Bibi wanted to pull it back, so there were checks and balances. And of course, there were certain actors from other countries assisting the left in Israel to foment discontent and to stop the prime minister. As a result, for the last 6 months, Israel has been, to put it mildly, a little distracted. As a result of that political turmoil, here's just one example, 400 Israeli Air Force, IAF, 400 IAF fighter pilots went on strike. Yeah, look it up. So if there was ever a time to kill Jews, it was now. And they know what's going on in Jerusalem. They know what's happening politically. And of course, they were distracted. The timing was perfect. Great question. Madam. And then we'll come to you. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
What exactly do you think is going on with Kamala Harris?
I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm sorry.
AI and
What does she know about how to boil water? She's a cretin. She's a certifiable moron. What do you want?
Obama's behind this?
No.
The AI?
No. Let's stop it again with the conspiracy theories. You know, Michelle's running. No. Obama's running things. I mean, read Obama's memoir. He admits he's a lazy SOB. He says, I would prefer to be in my basement watching ESPN eating Cheetos. He says that. That's who, he's got, what is it, a $40 million deal with Netflix? Why would he want to be running the country? Why would she want to run for president? A sanity check. He doesn't need to be, it's not Blofeld with a white cat in a hollowed out volcano with a joystick running Biden. You don't need any of that. Why? If you go beneath the level of cabinet members and deputies, most of government is filled at the top level with Obama appointees. Merrick Garland is not the Attorney General. I mean, he's a meat puppet. Have you seen that guy testify? He's a meat puppet, right? Who's running the Department of Justice? Somebody called Lisa Monaco. Lisa Monaco was Obama's counterterrorism advisor. You don't need Obama doing anything. He's got all his schlep everywhere. That's what's going on. Yes, madam.
My first question is, Philip Haney was tracking terror cells in America, and then Obama wiped all his work out. So my first question is, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening with terror cells in America? And then my second question is, my husband's brother and sister live in Israel, and my niece, which was part of intelligence, my niece is okay, my sister-in-law is okay, but we haven't heard anything about my husband's brother, and his kibbutz was in Golan Heights, and we know nothing about what's happened to my husband's brother. Do you know, in regards to that particular region, do you have any information on that?
No. I'm sorry, I don't know about missing people in Israel.
Okay.
I mean, I would start with the authorities. I would contact the Israeli embassy and contact the US embassy. I have no idea individuals who are missing. How would I know? I'm sorry. But you're asking about one individual. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I would approach the authorities, Monday. Do it. With regards to terrorist threat in America, I mean, I don't have 15 hours to answer that question, but I'll give you one quote. Whose alarm is going off? Can somebody switch off their alarm? It's kind of bugging. 8 years ago, I live in Virginia. 8 years ago, there's something called the Fusion Center, which is an entity that collects information about threats, terrorist threats, in one central location from the state police, local police, and the feds. And this is unclassified. The Fusion Center in Richmond published a report that you can access today, unclassified, which stipulated there are Islamic Jihad cells active today in Virginia. That was 8 years ago. We've had, what, 8, 16, 20 million people come in the last 2 years. If I'm a bad guy, what am I doing? I'm flooding my operatives into those streams. I guarantee. There's a very sober person who's a friend of mine. He's a former nuclear artillery officer from the U.S. Army who's a Friday guest on my show, Jim Carafano. Very sober individual, not a bomb thrower, no hyperbole from Jim. On my show, 5 months ago, live in front of 3.5 million people, he said, they're coming. The next attack will make 9/11 look small, and it's not an if, it's a when. If Jim Carafano says that, pay attention, get ready. Yes, in the back, and then we'll come back. Madam with the long blonde hair. No, behind you. Go ahead.
If you were President Trump, who would you pick as your running mate, and who do you think he will pick?
You won't like my answer. I don't think it matters. When have you voted for a president because of the Veep? I mean, really, it's irrelevant. And everybody really knows a Veep is nothing. A Veep goes to the funerals the president doesn't want to go to. No, seriously, that's his job. I love Ben Carson. I love Byron Donalds. Carrie Lake would be awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Yes.
2 questions. First, what do you think, or maybe if you have an idea what Trump might think, when elected, what do you see? I know we'll never fully recover, but what do you see as the way forward due to all the illegals that have come in due to the war?
Oh, we'll recover. If we do our part, and God willing, we do our part, and we get him elected, we will recover. Of course, we recovered from Pearl Harbor, we recovered from 9/11, we recovered from a civil war. 600,000 Americans were killed by Americans. We've recovered. What we do, it's very simple. We start doing everything they stopped doing from the Trump administration. I mean, it's a switch. They flicked the switch to off. No border, no wall, no ideological screening. We flicked the switch back. And to quote Mark Morgan, a good friend of mine, a former commissioner for border protection under Trump, I said, Mark, how are we going to get rid of the illegals? And he says, one by one. Back there. Oh, sorry, second, then we'll come to you. Second. Everybody likes these 2-question things.
I was just wondering, do you think, or how is Trump feeling about all of these bogus criminal charges that are...
You won't believe me, but a friend of mine is his attorney, and he told me yesterday, he's better than ever. I don't know how he does it, but I guess he just fuels him. I don't know.
I just want to say I fully expect that we will probably unanimously endorse him tomorrow, just like we did.
Bloody hope so. Thank you, madam.
Thank you for what you're doing. How do we help the January 6th prisoners of war?
Give them money. Give them money. Go to patriotfreedomfund.org and give them money now. They can't feed their kids. They can't clothe their kids. Go to Patriot Freedom. My colleague Dinesh D'Souza, I think, gave $100,000 in the first week. patriotfreedomfund.org. Just check it. Somebody check it now to make sure I got it right. patriotfreedomfund.org. Whichever one Julie Kelly has on a Substack, just if it's $100, just give them something. These people, I never thought I would say this, as a child of an escaped political prisoner from a communist hellhole. We have political prisoners in America. We have political prisoners. They're called the January 6th prisoners, and everybody in this room, just give them $10. Just do something. God bless you. Did I get that right? Patriot Freedom Fund? It's hard to get reception, right? All right. What? Follow me. Okay. Do this. Okay. On the way to the airport, I'm going to leave in a few minutes. I'll post it at the top of my Twitter and Truth Social, okay? I'll make sure it's the right one, and I'll say support the J6s, and I'll embed the link in the next 20 minutes, okay? Follow me at Seb Gorka, SEBGORKA, Seb Gorka, on Twitter, on Truth. Oh, and by the way, this is fresh today, hot off the presses. If you enjoyed tonight, if it was a little bit of a teaser, I'm going to take 600 patriots to Alaska next summer. So go to sebgorka.com and book your trip with me. It went live today, sebgorka.com. It's the Patriots Cruise next June. Yeah. All right, 2 more questions. Don't be shy. Yes.
There's so many Republican organizations, and we don't really coalesce together. What do you recommend that we do inside of these groups to actually unify, to get behind the right candidates and help?
Get rid of the rhinos. Identify them and primary them or run against them and get rid of them. Yes.
Thank you for being here. What journals, writers do you recommend? How do you stay
Great.
informed?
All right. I'll put this. This will be the second post on my Twitter. I get this question a lot because a lot of people say QAnon this, QAnon that, blah, blah. There are 14 periodicals that I rely upon to prep my show, like The Federalist, Daily Caller, Daily Wire, Breitbart. It's one of the most popular articles on my website. I'll post it on social media, link to my article, and the article lists every single page with the URL, with the link, all right? It's one of the most oft-asked questions I get. Great question. Madam in the back. And the last question goes to our host. Go.
How is it that President Trump had so many people in his cabinet who turned on him? Who were his advisors then, and who are his advisors now?
So, why did he have so many saboteurs in his cabinet? Very simply, because he'd never done politics before. Where would you get cabinet members from if you build skyscrapers and golf courses? Your Rolodex of national security advisors and secretaries of state is a little thin. So he trusted the people who were presented to him, and he learned that they were actual saboteurs. It is my greatest concern, and I'm going to see him in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We have to win the election. It's up to us. My biggest concern is personnel, and I have some ideas on how to deal with that. Madam.
So CRA is a volunteer grassroots organization, and we're constantly battling with our state party. They do not like us, and we now have more members than they do, so we do have power in numbers. We don't get paid. They do. So is there any possible way you can give us a plug or shout out on your show?
Totally. Come on the show. Yeah. That's the easiest question I've had all night. All right. All right, last one over there. Go ahead. Yes, you, sir.
Yes, the Washington, D.C. is full of agencies. 95% of the workers in these agencies are Democrats. They write all the rules and regulations.
Yep.
How can anybody short of God make any difference?
Very easy. This is called the Gorka plan. How do you change the 95% of Democrat bureaucrats in D.C.? This is fully within the president's authority. You move every stinking agency out of D.C. You move it to real America. You send the Department of Education to North Dakota. You send the Department of Agriculture to Wyoming. And guess what happens? All the fat, overpaid Democrat bureaucrats who like to have their cassoulet in the French restaurant in Georgetown will not move to North Dakota. Ooh, that's interesting. All right, so you downsize them by 50% and you man them with what? People who love America, who live in real America. Thank you, thank you, thank you.